So let's go right into our next panel. It says 2025 barrels towards us. One question looms very large. Are you in the driving seat or are just holding on for dear life? Which one is it? Driving? You're in the front seat? What do you think? Are you holding on as it's flying past very fast? So in our panel discussion next, we're talking about leadership in 2025. Will you be the drive change or you be driven by it is the question. And we're shifting gears to tackle what really takes to lead in a world that refuses to stand still. From the tech disruptors to market curveballs, our panelists are getting ready to unpack the skills, smarts, and swagger needed to steer the future instead of being steamrolled by it. So buckle up, guys. This is Leadership Redefined. So put your hands together for our moderator and panelist, Engineer Mahmoud Mazoub. Come on up, Mola, Managing Director and Co-Founder, Star Pro. Nice to have you up here. Obi, I'm going to bring you back up. You're so good. We want you again. Abuchi, CEO, Core Leaders International. Shavonia Corbin Johnson, Vice President, Harris Blitzer Sports Entertainment. And Bahir Omar, come on up, CEO and founder, Virtual Wall Company. This is a conversation I look forward to hearing. It's one of the last few on day 3 of a fun-filled, information-packed event. So you guys just test your mic. Want to make sure everyone has everything they need.
1, 2.
Test this. All right, you're live.
Test.
I'll be back in less than 30 minutes to engage in some questions. Okay, take it away.
All right, good afternoon. Again.
Good afternoon.
All right, great to be here. So we're focusing on driving change in 2025 or being driven by it. So my name is Obi Abuchi. I run Core Leaders International, and we're on a mission to transform leadership globally, raising the standard of leadership by getting leaders to focus on 4 core areas: personal, relational, professional, and spiritual. So I'm going to introduce the rest of the panel, and then we'll dive into our first question.
Ladies first.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Shivanya Corbin Johnson. I currently serve as the Vice President for Civic Affairs for Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment. It's one of the, I would say, top 3 leading sports agencies in the United States. They own teams like the Philadelphia 76ers, Washington Commanders, Crystal Palace, the premier UK soccer league. I know some of you in here are from the UK. But prior to that, I spent about 10 years in political work, serving on Capitol Hill for a U.S. Senator. I worked as the Deputy Chief of Staff for President Obama for about 3 years. Also ran for Congress and was one of the leading political figures in the state of Pennsylvania. What we're here for today is my side businesses. I do work in cross-cultural communication, so I was really excited to hear about the EI work that you all are doing on the previous panel. And then I also have a time management and productivity coaching business as well.
So you're involved in a few things.
There's a few things, I'm here and there. I dabble.
Cool. Mahmoud?
Hello? Yeah. My name is Mahmoud Mullah. I'm a mechanical engineer, MBA certified, also PMP certified. I'm working as operation director in Millennium Group, also the co-founder of Star Pro Construction. I have more than 17 years experience in construction, facility management, and operation as well. So I'm excited to be part of this panel discussion.
Fantastic.
My name is Bahir Omar. I'm a CEO and founder of a Virtual Company. It's an experiential company where we focus on creating experiences for different brands, activations, exhibitions with mind-blowing content. Basically, we're very specialized in experience centers, museums, activations for exhibitions. Prior to that, I spent more than 20 years working with multinational leadership rules across the whole Middle East and Africa.
All right, let's show that we are good leaders and we learn as well. We heard earlier on, someone was talking about Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why. Let's start with why ourselves. Why is it important that we even focus on this topic? Are you going to be driven by change in 2025 or drive it? Why is it important? Shavonia, do you want to kick off with this one?
Sure thing. That's a great question. So I would say it's really important to look at the word change. For people here in this room, when you hear the word change, you probably get excited. You're like, yes, I love change. I want something new, something innovative. But there are a lot of people in this world, when they hear change, they get fearful. And so we need to also look at the dichotomy of the word change. So why is it important for us to drive it? Because change is inevitable. There can be good change and there can be bad change. There's times that we have to ourselves do be adaptable to change. For example, if there's global pandemics, if there's national fires, wars, these are times we have to be adaptable. But other times we need to take that change, we need to make it personalized and actually drive the change. We can't have the bad change in the world. We need the people in this room, the people watching who actually want to do good for humanity, to take change, make it good change, and help drive that for 2025.
I love that. Get on the front foot, bro. But here?
Well, I mean, as you know, we're a creature on this planet. The planet, the universe, is in constant change. So we're no exception to that. In the business world, on personal level, everything is changing constantly. Even technology is emerging and changing pretty much quicker every single year. And therefore, we are faced with a lot of external and internal changes that we need to cope up with, whether we be proactive or reactive to it. That's why we're going to dwell more into it.
Well, Mahmoud?
Basically, I believe it's a combination. You need to be driven by change, because if the change is positive. Also, I can give a small example. I like it. I heard from one professional. He told me, be like a coffee bean in the boiled water, which you give your fragrance, your taste, your color to the water. So you be driven by change, by the boiled water. However, you change the water itself by your personality. You need to get the positive side. Even if the change is negative, it's look like negative, but always be optimistic that something good there. For example, I have my personal experience in pandemic. In the beginning, I get it as a positive change. So I get in 2020 7 certification. So I look at, as a professional wise, I cannot improve myself. So I work on my personal experience, learn, connect with the international leaders, learn from them. This is how I adapt.
Oh, I love that. I really love the coffee bean analogy as well, right? This symbiotic relationship that we can have with change. I remember reading an article, I think coming across a story, and they referenced an article that was in the New York Times. And this article said, the world is changing faster than ever before. Technology is evolving, just people moving all around the world. And it was a 1947 article in the New York Times. And what that says to me is, in every generation, every era, the world is changing faster than ever before. Technology, I mean, back in the day, there was a time when it would have been the transition from the horse-drawn carriage to the car. Whoa, the technology. And so that's always going to be the case. And so I think someone mentioned it earlier on, I think you, Siobhania, that it's inevitable. And so it's important that we figure out, how do we get on the front foot of it, but also appreciate that this is a symbiotic relationship. Not all of us saw, I mean, some people did, but not all of us saw AI coming. Okay, now it's here. How do we then drive that? So I think that's why it's really important. Let's delve deep into some things. And I'm going to start off with you, Bahir. So as a founder, navigating complexities, particularly in innovation, how do you decide when to proactively drive change versus adapt to the external forces?
Thank you. Great question. Well, as I said, I mean, this has a lot of impact and a lot of pillars that we start that journey with when we talk about change. As I said, it can be proactive, where we need to drive the change ourselves, where we see synergies with the vision, with alignment for the business cause, probably identifying a product gap that we need to drive it for our customers. That's where we drive change. We want to grow, for example, as the skill set of the people, the human capital that every company has. So therefore, you have the need to drive change, which means that you need to increase the learning curve for the people, the skill sets, you sharpen the pencil, and you give them the tools, the right empowerment to do their job perfectly, and you expand and you hit these KPIs. So that's where you drive change. On the other side, there is where we have to be probably more reactive to the changes that hit us all of a sudden, just like been hit with the bus with the COVID situation. It was more reactive. There's a lot of geopolitical changes in the region. It could be some political instability. You have to react to it, and therefore, and it depends. You asked me, being a founder of the company, it even changes from a company to another. When you have, like corporates world, it's more like big ships. It's like a Titanic. It takes a lot of time to divert its course of action, right? But when you talk about startups, it's more agile. They can react faster because you have a handful of decision makers. They can take immediate decision making, whether it's good or bad. I mean, and this is a part of the whole journey. Failure is good. It's always good. I mean, every people, they try to avoid being failed in a specific course of actions that they have, which I think we should embrace it as a process. And as I say, you learn more when you fail. That's, you mentioned about Michael Jordan, and that's true. And that's the story of our life. Technically, you see how newborns, they navigate, and I call it the art of navigation. As we grow and live our life, you navigate your way through, and from your mistakes, you learn how to enhance every single time and how you excel in these refinements. And one of the panel talks yesterday in Fuel, they was talking about the Marshmallow Challenge. There was a lot of leadership in the room who know, they're familiar with the Marshmallow Challenge. The best people who scored the highest is not the CEOs, it's not the architectural engineers. It was the kindergarten, because they have a model called, fail and refine. They do a prototype, they fail, they refine it. Prototype, they fail and refine. And that's brilliant, but that's natural. They didn't go to business schools, they didn't go through anything. That's natural instinct God has created in us.
That's listening to you there, so there's something important about us being proactive and driving, equipping our teams where we've got big teams, but then also adapting as you go through. We've had a few people from the military here, and I couldn't help but think of, there's a saying in the military, no plan survives contact with the enemy. So you have a strategy, you have your vision, but you go out there and you realize you're going to have to pivot, right? Brilliant. Mahmoud, I'd love to come to you. In your experience, what is the most critical mindset shift that leaders need to make to drive change effectively, especially in uncertain environments and times?
Basically, the uncertainty, the leaders must shift their mindset from stability to be adaptive.
To be adaptive.
Yeah. To embracing change, plus train a team who can be adaptive and take a decision to support you, to give you ideas, because of course, as a leader, you cannot manage an organization without your team. So if the team cannot take the decision, you cannot change, or you cannot move forward with the market. Also in our field in construction and facility management, the most important thing is to follow the trend, like the eco-friendly building, smart building. So you need to update your software, update your system to move forward with the upcoming trends.
Yeah, brilliant. Siobhania, I'd love to come to you. And we've talked a lot about being in a globalized world, a changing world. Let's talk about some skills now. So how can leaders use, you're a cross-cultural communications expert, so how can leaders use cross-cultural communications to drive meaningful change and foster collaboration? Because that also links to what Mahmoud is saying about getting our people on the journey.
Yeah, I feel like this topic really segues really well with the previous panel we had on emotional intelligence. But for like the cross-cultural aspect, since we are such a globalized and really like international, honestly, world, the first thing is understanding. One thing that I've realized, being from the United States, obviously Americans have their own perception as being the number one country, very prideful. I love my people. But what we need to realize, not only in the US, but in other countries, is your norm is not everyone's norm. What is normal for you is not normal for everyone. We have a number of countries represented in the room right now. If I ask all of you to get in a line, the line is going to look very different based on the country you come from. If you come from, let's say, India, Pakistan, things of this area, maybe Nigeria, it's probably going to be a cluster of people all here. If you come from the US, Japan, China, we're going to be in a single file, straight back line. And so just being able to understand the difference, something as small as how does a country get in a line, can really change, how you interact with people from different backgrounds, different religions, things of this nature. So I would say, one, just being really understanding, and then being empathetic of it. You don't have to understand everyone's everything, but being open to be open and willing to learn, to listen, and to see how you can adapt it to your policies. Since we're in a business setting, we're in a networking setting right now. Just one quick example is, for example, if you go to Japan and you give someone a business card, you have to give them a business card with both of your hands, like this. And then you're actually expected to read the business card, to thank them, and then you can put the card away. That's how they do it in Japan and a few other societies. In the US, it's really okay to say, hey, I'm Shivanya, here's my card. One hand, two fingers, you don't even have to read it, put it in your card. But to me, that's not a sign of disrespect, nor is it a sign of disrespect to other Americans. That's just how we transaction, but try that in Japan, they would be offended. If someone in Japan came and presented with two cards, we'd just be like, wow, this is very formal. We wouldn't be offended, just very formal. So just being able to understand, be empathetic, and be open to different cultures and diversities really, I would say, will take businesses far in 2025.
I love that. And as you say, that's a real synergy with the emotional intelligence.
Yes,
right? I mean, these are
100%.
all skills that help leaders drive change. Let's delve deeper into this and just, again, just to give some ideas. What's one leadership quality you believe will be indispensable for leaders for driving change effectively in 2025? And I'll start off with this time. I think visioneering. And I describe visioneering as having the vision but then engineering your way towards that vision. So as a company, Core Leaders International, we've got a 2035 vision already about the number of leaders we want to impact globally, just some of our expansion plans. We're kicking off our Core 2025 conference next year for leaders, just equipping them to thrive in all seasons. And we've got a roadmap towards that. And so there's a real vision, so a clarity around a vision, communicating that to the team. So we've done some work to communicate that to the team, got a video, bringing people on board with the journey, but knowing that along the way, I am going to have to pivot because, as we said earlier on, no plan survives contact with the enemy. So I think leaders just really embracing the skill of visioneering, having a vision, and then knowing how you work towards that vision is going to be a key skill. Who else wants to throw one out?
I think it's very important, as I said before, I love to call it the art of navigation. And it has a lot of pillars under it. So, for example, empowering the team and being empathetic with them, assertive yet for performance, but at the same time, you have to give them the tools they need to do the job. I mean, one hand cannot clap. So at the end of the day, you need to.
Few people are going to try now. They're going to try.
Right. But the idea of it is simply, as I said, look at the case of an artist. So you can definitely not teach people how to be artists. That has to come within. And as we say, change has to come within. You have to know first and define your goals. Why do you need this change? Why it's important for you? How you're going to hit your KPIs doing that on a personal level and on a professional level. But once you know that, that's where you can address, that's where you can change things. That's where you can take a course of actions. So as I said, an artist, you have to give them, as a leader, the tools. You're going to give them a canvas. You're going to give them the colors and give them the environment to be inspired with. But they have to draw. They're the one who have to take it and draw. It's an analogy we were talking about over lunch. which is like, I like the Matrix movie. When Neo said, like, we showed him with his journey to talk to Trinity, it was like, I'm going to show you the door, but you have to go through it. It's your journey. It's your destiny. You have to go through it. No matter how you coach people, no matter how you preach or how you put policies in place, unless until this commitment comes within, then it's not going to change. So I believe this has to be everybody. I mean, we have to stop self-victimizing ourselves among all categories, whether business, personal, and we, as I said, learn from the failure, embrace it. It's okay that things went wrong sides. It's going to happen even in nature. That's the universe we live in, right? So, but as I say, the art of navigation give you that strength, that kind of skill to navigate through your way and make a successful journey at that.
Yeah, that's so good. Before I bring Shivanya and Mahmood in, I think what's powerful about that matrix analogy is that some people could look at this and think driving change, and because you're the leader, it's get that whip out and make people work, and they've got to do what they need to do. And yet what you're speaking to is creating an environment that really unleashes the potential and gets people to want to go on that journey and give their best to that journey, and perhaps even give some of their best ideas that help you navigate some of the difficulties along the way, which is so good.
No, that segues actually right into what I was going to say. I know we were looking for one word. Mine was going to be builder. Be a builder. One, for your company, help to build up your company. But most importantly, be a builder for your employees, for the people that work for you. Build a table for them, make them feel a part of the process. The culture of a company is so important. And then thirdly, build up yourself. As CEOs, as owners, as whatever position people have, people often neglect their own well-being and their own needs to, for the good of a business, the good of the corporation. Your corporation can only go so far as you're able to take it. And if you're not healthy, if you're not taking care of yourself, then that's where your limitations lie.
Well, Mahmood, final word, one quality?
Yeah, as I mentioned a while ago, it's adaptive. I want to say it in a different way. Like in our field, facility management, we always have the preventive maintenance predicted, which is always our daily routine. However, we lost the company vision by concentrating on the assets in the building or the building environment itself. So it's better to shift it and encourage the team to think in diversity way, give ideas, and take decision, but keep concentrating in the long-term vision for the organization itself.
Brilliant. So we've got adaptive, builder, navigating, and visioneering. So those are some indispensable.
Pretty good words.
Yeah, pretty good words. I mean, we'll make a note of those words ourselves, right? So we can't get away from this. We've had a lot of talk about technology, and technology is often a real catalyst for change. So Bahir, I want to come to you on this. What role do emerging technologies play in enabling leaders to stay ahead of change, and how can leaders leverage those effectively to drive that change in 2025?
Well, I mean, there has been always great methodologies even before the AI. So AI, as I say, it's a tool. How we use it, how we embrace it, and how we get on board with it. There's a lot of things that's been predictive. I mean, that's how stock markets worked in Dow Jones and Wall Street. It's been always predictive based on Excel sheets, charts, et cetera, and that's how we were doing projections with the P&L and where the sales target is going to be, et cetera, et cetera. So it can be traditional still, nothing wrong with that, or it can be with the help of the predictive data analysis that we have and how we think probably internally and externally how things are going to change. But again, if you have that navigation skill, you have the survival kit with you. So no matter what sudden things that's going to happen with you, you will find your way through it. It's okay to take time and think about it. And it can be, by the way, it's a learning session. It's empowering the team again. It can be a learning platform. One of the things that I really love during my 20 plus years experience among corporates, it's called best practices sharing. And that's why everybody, I think, is sharing today, and for the last 2 days, it's best practices sharing. That's when you replicate it, you will amplify that power by 100x's. And I think it's a very nice thing to have, but again, with customization, with localization taste to it. Because what works in Brazil doesn't work in Nigeria, it does not work in UAE, it might not work in the US or Japan. That's where you have that customization taste to it.
So leverage that best practice sharing, and I like the way you positioned the technology as a tool rather than something that's going to dominate us. This is a tool that we can leverage. Brilliant.
We're here to stay as a human race.
Yeah, we are here to stay. Mahmoud, I'd love to come to you now. Just what lessons do you think leaders can learn from? Some industries are more impacted by rapid change than others. So what are some lessons that we can learn from how those industries handle it, and therefore we can handle it regardless of the industry we're in?
It's simply follow the trends, especially in our field. We know that AI is impacting the field itself. So we need to teach leaders to invest change. Plus, follow the eco building, smart building, be innovative. That's it.
So follow the trends in your industry and be innovative, right? One tool that I often use with organizations, especially for innovation, is design thinking. Anyone familiar with design thinking methodology here? So amazing tool, run a hackathon, just really helps you to empathize, define the change, and then explore different ideas and then start to prototype and test that minimum viable product. So I think that's a great one for innovating. Shavoni, I want to come to you as a final question, just as we start to wrap up. Let's leverage your communication expertise again. As leaders, whenever we're going through change or we're driving change, we often have to communicate things. What are some of the pitfalls that leaders need to avoid when communicating during these seasons of intense change?
That's a great question. I would say communication is a two-way street. Normally when people hear the word communication, I'm sure everyone thought, okay, how can I say my piece? That's what people hear when they hear communicate. But it's actually a two-way street. Communicate is how can I really understand what someone is about to say to me? You know, you've heard this many times before. That's why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, because communication is really about listening and taking what we actually hear and understand it, and then we can respond. So I would say that is probably the most important approach. And then again, just adding on to that, just having a good level of emotional intelligence is something that definitely gets overlooked in the corporate world, but is going to be needed for 2025.
Love that. So recognizing that it's a two-way street and the emotional intelligence. I know we had the queen of emotional intelligence in the room earlier on, so I think she'd be really pleased that with the focus on emotional intelligence. Let's wrap up with this question, and then we'll open it up to questions from the audience. Let's leave the audience with some inspiration. What's one piece of advice you'd give to leaders here, leaders listening, looking not just to survive, but thrive in a rapidly changing world?
I went first in the first question.
Go for it.
I'll go last on this one.
You go last on this one.
Switch it up. Okay.
So, Mahmoud, do you want to start with this one? One piece of advice to thrive, not just survive, in a rapidly changing world.
Simply don't fear from failure. Learn from it. Because all of us as leaders, we learn from our failures. We make a lot of mistakes. We take a lot of wrong decisions. Then we learn from it, which lead us to reach to this limit.
So do not fear the failure. Bahir, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. I think one of the most important leadership attributes for the 2025 or even the future, it's actually, future proof, I believe it is, learning. The more you learn, the more you are exposed, the more you come up with solutions. One of the very inspiring moments for me in my life when I started traveling the world. That's when you open your eyes widely on cultures, how do people trade, do business, solve problems, come up with funny stories. Like, for example, companies. I used to work with a company, 3M, it's a US well-known company. The scientist who created the products tells you 70% of usage for our products today is learned from our customers, not for the purpose that's been created for. And that shows you the power of a humankind mind and how we change things based on the purpose we want and what things we're trying to achieve. Therefore, learning is the most important thing I see for leadership, to be always on a constant journey of learning, no matter what subject is. Learn more, be like a sponge, absorb as much as information. It's going to help you one day.
That's so good. So for me, my piece of advice is linked to a really personal and painful story. For the last 10 years, my mom has been navigating Alzheimer's. I grew up with a single mom, and so it's been incredibly painful just watching her just fade away. And one of the things that I realized partway through it was that for so long, I was trying to fight it. It was a change that was happening right before our eyes, and I was trying to fight it. Partway through, I realized that I need to learn to ride the wave. There comes a point where there are some things that we can control. Absolutely, we can control it. Other things we can convert, and then some things we need to accept. And when a wave comes, you've just got to learn to ride that wave. And then that gets over the frustration of, I can't control this. I'm going to learn to ride it. And it certainly helped me grow deeper in my empathy. And so that's something that I would say to leaders, learn to ride the wave. Siobhan?
That's a great point, Obi. I would say for me is two things I try to really abide by. One is be authentically you. We really live in a world of comparison with TikTok, Instagram, just being out in public in general. Everyone compares himself to someone else. But even in this own room, people are good at data. People are good at other tech sectors, publishers. We have authors. I know someone has a book up here. But everyone needs to be authentically themselves and really use their skill sets that they have and help to I would say, exemplify that. And then the second thing is also personal for me. I was actually born to a foster family and really didn't have a stable home, switched between families up until I was 10 years old. And so, at that time, growing up a child in that fashion, you really feel rejected. But I ended up in the family that I should be, and it helped me get to where I am where I am today. And so one thing I always tell myself in personal life and also in business is rejection is God's protection. So I'm sure many of you have heard no in your business side and your personal side, and no hurts. It hurts from whoever it's coming from, whether it's family or friends. But there's something that you don't see down the path, whether it's for your business, whether it's personal. But just look at that rejection in the face and say thank you, because God's protecting you from something, and he's going to open another door or window that's going to be the right path for you. So rejection is God's protection.
Wow, that's one we're going to remember. Love that. Thank you. We've had a great conversation up here. Rachel, over to you for any questions from the audience.
What do you got? What do you got? Hands up in the back. I saw a big one, so I'm coming to you. I'm coming to you. You're coming to me. I'm coming to you. Okay.
Thanks. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It was a pleasure to hear such great discussion. Thanks. I love that. And I love the topic also. So my question is about, can you please give maybe some advices about how to grow, not only like growing ourselves, but also grow together with our friends, with our environment? Because this topic was kind of concern for me exactly. I'm working, hard working, and I'm okay growing. But not all my friends stick with me also and growing together with me. And I'm kind of, relationships are dynamic, and I don't want to lose some friends. But sometimes I think it's maybe it's the way of life, and maybe I did not maybe I don't did not communicate with them in a healthy way. So yes, I ask for some advices how to create this atmosphere of growing leaders around myself. Yeah, thanks.
Awesome.
That
How
is
old are
a
you?
great question. That's a
25
great
years old, the
question.
youth of today,
Yeah.
right here.
I know, right?
Hello.
All right. Okay, we'll both take it. That's a great question. It's hard to do. Let's just recognize that. It is so hard to do. I've actually been in a personal process myself where I've gotten rid of some friends I've known for 10 years, 15 years. And it's hard to say. You have all those memories, you have, all these things there. So, you're going to go through it not only now, but again, and I hate to say that to you, but I'm just being honest. But you need to just focus on your goal and what's really important to you. And I will say the friends that you have that are holding you back, whether you hang out with them a little less until you eventually maybe have to cut them off, but you're going to, I would say, allow more energy and more time and opportunity to meet some absolutely amazing people. And that's what's happened to me. I've had some friends that's been like holding me down. They're like, why are you speaking in Dubai? Some friends who were upset that I was speaking here today. But then I have other friends who have been sending cards, messages like, yeah, let's do this, let's do this. And then you need to recognize who's supporting you. And at every level you go, you're going to meet some new people. Some friends you'll keep along for the journey. Some friends are there for a lifetime. Some are there for a reason, and some are there for a season. So you need to recognize that. But the people that you meet at different levels, some of them are going to be absolutely, absolutely amazing. Like the job I currently have now, I never would be working for, honestly, I hate to say it, 3 billionaires if I never positioned myself in a position to really be able to have a network like that. Coming from a foster house, working for the White House, and now working for multi-billionaires, like you have to, I would say, make some changes along the way.
Beautiful.
Do-
Not
Mahmood?
easy. You got something? You got a tip you could take? Which friends are you cutting? He's thinking about it, right? He's like, who wants to be a
Messy.
friend? We got a good room in here. Welcome to our room.
Yeah, but
thanks.
you don't want him to answer that on camera.
Do not.
It's being streamed
said
live, right? Let him think about it.
She said,
just
list the
joined the room.
names.
I haven't seen him yet.
No, I
It's
can give you
okay.
advice.
She
But
said,
I got
point
the
them out.
idea,
Where
okay.
are they?
That's life, yes. We need to accept the facts.
There's no doubt it's hard. It's hard. Right? I mean, no doubt we got this pressure going. You got to be, if you're the smartest person in the room, you got to leave. We heard it, right? It's a hard pressure. You're like, oh, I sit thinking to myself, oh, I got a really good friend. She's a housewife. She doesn't really add any value to my life other than a couple giggles about kids. But is she bringing any extra push to go to the next level professionally? It's a hard challenge. You have to decide what's right for you. Take your intuition. That's your driving chapter. That's your driving. Get in the driving seat with your intuition.
Yeah, thanks. I'm actually currently feeling that I'm on the stage of kind of leaving maybe and going to another environment, another environment of friends maybe, and it's kind of not. It's a new for me. Sorry for that. Just I don't know. Am I right on this path, or should I do some things with my current environment, and we need to grow together? I don't
I
want
can
to
give
be
you advice.
imposter. So
I lived this experience before actually. When I came to UAE, I have a lot of friends in my home country. After 3 years here, we almost disconnected. Later on, we found each other, by Facebook, by social media. However, I feel that I'm far away from them. Our mindset changed. some of them also travel to a different country. I feel this that I'm alone now because childhood friendship it's long term. However, day by day in professional way, I network here. I have a lot of friends now. Also, I have one of my oldest friends, which we call each other as our brothers. We didn't meet from 17 years face to face, but still up to now, every few months we message each other. Hi, how are you? What's your life? What you are doing nowadays? So this is the true friendship. And when you go and you learn more, you need to translate your learning, your education to your friends. Because sometimes, you work in a professional field, like you have a new technology, your friend, for example, they don't know this type of technology. If you not teach them this type of technology, they cannot be with you. So if they learn it, they want to learn it, so you are the same group.
No, got the idea. Thanks.
Fantastic. It's not easy being a human. A lot of challenges over here on this planet, right? All right. I know we got a lot of questions. Thank you so much for that. I know you want to have one. She's waving at me. Can't miss Tish. Yes, Miss Tish, what you got for us?
In America, in 2025, there will be new leadership. And this question is for Shivanya. I know that your background in politics. How would you advise individuals who may not be happy with the change that's coming forth in the US of A?
That's a great question.
Move to Dubai.
So, yes, I know. I'm 10 years in politics. I always get asked political questions. I love it. I would say this is, regardless of who's getting in office, we have a new president in the U.S. every 4 years. Whether you like them, whether you don't like them, that's up to you and your own personal views. But this is where I would say people really need to focus on themselves. You can't control what the president does. We can't control in the U.S. what the Senate, what the Congress is going to do. But we can control what we do. We can control how we feel. We can kind of control how we react to things. So whether you need to take some time off from work and make sure you're taking care of yourselves, whether you have to ask your boss or make sure your company is now fully remote, whatever you have to do to make sure that you feel fulfilled is going to be the most important. 2024, 2025, it's going to be all about self-preservation. And so that's what I'm focusing on. Obviously, people know I've worked for the Democratic Party, so I did not vote for Trump, just so we put it out there. But whether you like him or not, I've met the man before, but whether you like him or not, you just have to focus on yourself, your preservation, your family's well-being, your neighbor's well-being, your community. Having a community within our general U.S. community is going to be very important. The U.S. is such a big country, and I think people forget how large the U.S. is. Yeah, I know, I hear you laughing over here. Is how large the U.S. is, but find your community within that country, even your community overseas, and make sure you're connecting with them, checking in with them, and focusing on self-preservation for the next 4 years. Honestly, always, but for the next 4 years.
Thank you, thank you. Last question for our panel. What do you got?
Actually, hi Shivanya, this is for you. So in your current capacity as the VP working for a sports and entertainment company, you know that there are limitations. For example, we have sponsors, and what the sponsors say goes. We have Ticketmaster, we have Arctics, where all the season ticket holders are. I've got Fanatics that has to be used in order to sell product, merchandise, what have you. How limited or open do you feel to be able to introduce change in such an environment where there are sponsors, organizations that are being sort of not dictated but driven by the relationship at the league level? So for the New Jersey Devils, I've got the NHL. For the obviously 76ers, we've got NBA. So I just wanted to know, in your capacity, what is your power of influence to truly introduce change?
Yeah, so first thing I would say is every organization is different. So the organization I work for, Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment, I'm really, I would say, happy that I work for them. One thing I will say about the owners, the partners we call them, is that they are open for change. They're willing to listen to it. They're willing to have conversations about it. Whether everything always goes, that's a different thing. But you can at least find someone in the organization to have a conversation about this. But like you said, working with different Ticketmaster, different sponsors, things of this nature, kind of what I mentioned before, communication and making sure that you're listening as well as speaking, being a two-way street, this is where it's really important. And then something that I was brought on, they wanted someone that had like a political and a strategy background. So that's the position that they actually created, this position for me. And so through this, my job is to build relationships. So a lot of what I would say other corporations are missing that I'm trying to bring in our current corporation and things that they've already started, but now I'm elevating, is relationship building. And so by having a relationship with Ticketmaster, one with Live Nation, who's one of our biggest, entertainment and concert partners, by having these relationships, we can actually have open and honest conversations. So when a deal needs to get done, we need, we make sure that when we leave the negotiating table, both sides are happy with the deal. Everyone's been on one side where they haven't been happy or they've been happy and maybe the other person wasn't. That's not what we want. We're looking to build long-term lasting relationships. And so, I would say building negotiating skills, but also building relationship skills. This is something that people really miss out on and something that I've done in the political side and now doing on the sports side. But by having relationships with people, it makes sponsorships easy. It makes sales easy. It makes partnerships easy, marketing easier, all of these different categories. So I would say, reach out. We have a lot of people here that have networks. People elsewhere, wherever you live, have networks as well. Start building relationships. Even if you don't think you may need this person for another 3-5 years, or you're just generally interested in what they're going to do, just start reaching out to people. Get to genuinely know people. That's what I do. And then next thing you know, in 3 years, I'm like, oh, actually, let me contact someone. And boom, you can contact about XYZ. So get to genuinely know people because there's a lot of really interesting people in this world.
Amazing. Give them a round of applause. Another great panel, CXO 2.0 here in Dubai.